gorgeous creatures, and welcome to On the Couch with Krazy Chaz. Yes, that's me, Krazy Chaz, known to my friends, my colleagues, and my clients as a little bit over the top, excited, eccentric. But you know what? I own it, I live it, I am it. It is who I am, and that's what makes me so fabulous. So, enough about me, and now on to what we're going to be chatting about. In this web series, we're going to be talking about wedding stationery. Now, wedding stationery has definitely changed, grown, evolved, especially in the last 5 to sort of 6 years, all right? And it's not just about the pieces of paper that your invitation is on. It goes so much more than that. It goes right all the way through to on day, keeping that same look and feel, creating a sense of harmony through to your on day items and your menus, and even backdrop staging, gifting. There's so many aspects of stationery, and we're going to be chatting about it all on this web series. So if you like us, please click subscribe down below. Give us some thumbs up. Any comments, feedback, good or bad, or any suggestions on what you would like to see during the series are greatly appreciated. We have also put a link to a PDF document down below in the description. This is going to be a guideline to help you through your planning process on all the different types of stationery that we're going to be discussing during the series. All right, let's get started. So, first up, what do we do? Where do we start as far as wedding stationery is concerned? There's so many starting points. And in this series, I'm going to be chatting about the have-to-haves, the want-to-haves, and don't even worry or spend your money on it. I'm very frugal when it comes to money and spending money on stationery. And I believe my one thing that I want you to remember in this series is spend your money where it's going to be seen the longest. Like when brides ask me where they would spend their money, my first thing is not even stationery, and that is my forte. I'd say spend it on a good photographer, because your photographs are something you're going to have forever. My single rule for stationery is spend money on what will be seen and used the longest. For instance, a civil service, church service that only takes 20 minutes. Are you going to spend 2,000-3,000 Rand on a program that only is going to be seen for 20 odd minutes? Or would you rather spend more money on invitations that have a lifespan of 6 to 8 weeks? So my rule of thumb is spend money where it's going to be seen the most. Now, not a very big thing here in South Africa is the engagement party. All right, a lot of people have the engagement, but it's not a very formal event. But this is where the first part or the first starting point for wedding stationery can be, and that would be in your invites. Asking gifts. Now, this is one avenue that has grown in popularity over the last couple of years. Now, if you ask, what is an asking gift? An asking gift is where you ask your bridesmaids or your groomsmen to be part of your bridal party, and this can get quite elaborate. Save the dates. Now, this is not a have-to-have, but it's nice to have. The only 2 times I would recommend to my clients to have it as a have-to-have is for 2 reasons. One being an odd time of year. In other words, around a major holiday or a long weekend when maybe people have made plans and have booked and to go away. This is where a save the date is great, because then they can move their schedule around yours. The second one would be if it was a destination wedding. If the guest needed to travel quite far from overseas, or if you were having the wedding on an island or anywhere that is quite far, maybe 2 or 3 hours travel, it would be a great idea to send a save the date so that your guests have time to book and make travel arrangements and take time off work, because not just all of us can just jump on a plane and just go on a holiday. You know what I'm saying? So those are the 2 times I would recommend a save the date. Hen parties, stag parties, bachelorettes, bachelor, whatever you want to call it. This is a quite fun and rite of passage in the bridal planning timeline. This is normally handled by your bridal party, normally by your matron or maid of honor and your best man. But it's also a place where the stationer can get involved, do the invitations, goodie boxes, and there are so many other little goodies and knickknacks that you can get involved in. All right, so now on to this time-old debate. Should I go digital? Should I go printed? And my answer, as I've previously mentioned, always do both. You're going to get value out of both. Both have their pros, both have their cons. Digital is easy, it's quick to get up, it's accessible by just about everybody. You can put so much information. You can put gift registries and links to your online stores. You can put the story of us. You can put a bio up on your bridal party, the who's who. You can put a platform where people can upload photographs, put messages. RSVP tracking becomes easier because it becomes a digital platform. You have counters and you can double it up for save the dates and hen party informations, and the list goes on with the pros on digital. The con on digital is sometimes is that slight generational gap where granny won't necessarily be apt at getting into a website, finding all the information. She literally knows how to call on her cell phone. That's when a printed invitation for your special close family and friends is great. And printed invitations, okay, this is my favorite part of any wedding suite, because it kind of sets the tone for the rest of your wedding stationery. It's also a glimpse, or the first glimpse your guests have into the style and feel of your wedding. Okay, so here are things that are very important to remember is, what are colors are you going to be using? When I normally speak to my brides, we talk about 3 major colors. One being the color palette. Are you going with pinks? Are you going with reds? Are you going with purples? Then the second one would be your base color. Now this would be a cream, a white, or a black, a neutral color that complements your palette. And the third one would be your metallics. So you're choosing a silver, a gold, a rose gold, a gunmetal dusty silver. This is where you set the tone and the color scheme going forward. All right, next up we stop at the ceremony. Now, there are a lot of things to consider for the ceremony. The first things I like to chat to my brides and my students about is unity ceremonies. Now, this is one of my favorite things to do at a ceremony because I find it very symbolic. But this is very much a personal choice. This is a nice to have, but not a have to have. All right, there's so many different options here. You can do unity candles, you can do unity sand, which is the pouring of the two different colors and then the uniting together of one color. You can do what's become very popular is the unity rope, where you're tying the 3 cords and coming together. Other things for ceremony would be things like the program. Now, again, this is a nice to have, not to have to have. The only time that I would recommend that you have to have a program is if you are going to be having a full religious service. In other words, are you going to be singing? They need to have words with singing. If it's a Catholic wedding, not everybody's Catholic who's going to be attending the wedding, so they need to know when to stand, sit, say what they need to say after the priest. So if it is a full ceremony, that's when I would recommend a program. If it's just going to be a civil service, quick 20 minutes, 30 minutes, people don't need to sing, you do not need a program. Signage for directions. This is very popular. One thing that I do just about every single wedding is a welcome to board. Normally we use one of the fantastic photographs from their engagement shoot and say, welcome to the wedding of Charis and John. And this is also a great way to make sure that the guests are at the right wedding. No, just kidding. But it's very, very popular. Also a nice to have, not a have to have. Then you also get directional signage. This way to canapes, this way to reception, this way to I-dos, and we can get a lot of quirky. Another signage that has also become very popular is please don't take photographs. We have a professional photographer. One of the biggest problems in a ceremony is all the cameras down the aisle, everyone trying to get pictures of the bride, and then the professional photographer is trying to dodge and dive guests and not have guests in the photographs. So a very popular signage that has come to term is a sign saying, listen, you can take as many photographs as you want post ceremony, but at the ceremony we've got a professional photographer, he's got it under control, please refrain from taking on. Another great place for signage is for the flower girls and the page boys. The little sign says, here comes mom, or here comes the bride, last chance to run. I must admit I haven't had too many brides and grooms run. Sure, thank you. But this is a great way to add a little bit of personality and a little bit of signage to your ceremony. Moving on, we come to the seating plan. Now, everybody asks, do I need to have a seating plan if I just want them to sit wherever? Now, this is the one place where I say to my clients and my students, this is a have to have. There's no really getting out of it. You can ask any wedding coordinator how they feel about a wedding seating plan. To try and seat 100 to 200 to 300 guests where they don't know where they're sitting is complete chaos. All right? Then you've set up the tables for 10 people, and then these 8 people, but then another 3 can't fit onto it, and then they're shifting tables and adding tables, and then this adds to cost because you have to create new tables, and there's just holes everywhere. No. Tell your bride, and if you're a bride, you need a seating plan of some kind. All right? Normally what I recommend is put your seating plan in the pre-reception area. This allows your guests more time to see where they're sitting. If you just have it at the entrance hall to your reception, you almost get this bottleneck of people trying to look for their names. All right, so the best place is to do it in canapé hour. All right, another question that I get asked quite regularly is, do I need name cards? No, you do not need name cards. It's a nice to have, but not a have to have. The only time that I would recommend name cards is if you do banquet style. Now, what is banquet style? Banquet style is those long tables with like 30 people per side. It's just very awkward to find a seat on a banquet table. On a round table, it's easy. It's a circle. There's no points. You're going to join up somewhere along the line. On banquet tables, I would definitely recommend name cards, because then you can put the people in order. It's easier to organize, and it's less of a headache for the planners at the end of the day. I love a menu and a program on a table, but that's again just a personal choice. They're also both nice to haves, but not have to haves. Though menu, I would definitely recommend. You need to put menus on tables. People like to know what they're eating. All right. If you are going to do a table menu, what I would recommend is a minimum of 1 per 5 guests. So if you have a table of 10, I would recommend 2 menus for the table. You can also do individual menus, which I absolutely love. One thing I do advise to my clients and to my students is stationery should add to the table. It shouldn't take away from the table. It should also add the color that maybe you can't get necessarily in the flowers. So if you've got a lot of blues in your wedding, you might not get a lot of blue flowers, so that you can bring the blue in with the stationery. I like the classic DL shaped menu and program, because you can also layer it, and you can create interest with, if they've had a seal made, it's a nice way to bring in, and you can bring in a little bit of color and a little bit of class, and it follows the napkin beautifully, which is really, really great. Programs, that is again also a personal choice. I know that a lot of the weddings that I do, they like to honor their speakers, so they like to tell the guests who are going to be speaking and at what time. Table numbers. I don't know how many times I've been called a week before and from a venue, from a client, and they go, "Oh, Charis, I forgot the table numbers. What can we do?" We can do so much. There are so many different options. There are rental options as well as designed options. A great one, and a very popular one I use, is a triangular one that can put a table number on one side and a menu and a program on the other side, which is really great. Table names are something that I absolutely love, and I think bring out the personality of the bride. A couple years ago, I had a bride that was an absolute wine fanatic. So they decided to name each one of their tables after a farm, a wine farm they loved in the Cape. And they tied everything in so beautifully, absolutely beautifully. Each guest got a gift of a wine glass with their name on it. The red and white wines on the tables were from those wine estates. Table names are also great for a number of reasons. If you have guests that are very particular about where they sit, they won't know if they're at table 1 or table 16. They'll just know they're at table Hope or Deuteronomy or Leviticus, which is really, really great. The only problem with table names that I have incurred is that when you start getting to 20, 25 tables or more, it's just a little awkward for the guest to find, and it takes a little bit of time for the guest to find their seat. But other than that, it's a great way, as I said, to bring the personality of the bride in. Another big question is, do we have wedding favors? To be honest, guys, if you're not going to give me something to eat, maybe that's obvious, I'm not really fazed as a guest if I get a gift or not. And 9 times out of 10, if it's some quirky little key ring or something, I'm going to probably throw it in a drawer and not think about it twice. So my recommendation for brides and for students to recommend to their brides and clients is put your money somewhere else. Wedding favors, unless you've got a massive budget and you can really spoil your guests rotten, you don't need to have wedding favors anymore. Rather put it into a candy table or plant a tree. All right, guest books. Ooh, this is debatable. I had a guest book, but to be honest, it's probably in a box in the garage somewhere. I probably looked at it once or twice, and that's about it. Also, guest books don't get signed. Unless you have a dedicated person going around to each guest saying, please sign the book, please sign the book, it hardly ever gets done. The best way to get a signed guest book is to make it interactive. Include it in a photo booth where the guests are almost ushered into the reception area. If they take a photograph, they get to keep a photograph, they put a photograph in the book and they sign it away. That is a great way for a guest book. Try do unique things. We did a wedding where it was on the Val and we got pebbles and stones and each guest signed a message onto the stone. The father of the bride actually made a shadow coffee table where all the stones went to and then glass was put over, and you see that every day. That is a great idea. If you're going to incorporate it into a piece of artwork that you can hang in your house, great, then do that. Fingerprint trees. You can also use the 3 chord from your unity ceremony, put the 3 chords on one side, and then you can get the guests to sign on the other side. Great. All right. Those are great guest books. You can also do a drop box like you see behind us. All right. Another service I offer that not many stationers offer is customized backdrops. Now this is great behind the sweetheart table. It creates beautifully finished photographs. They also use it down the aisle at the altar as a backdrop for photographs there, and then it can double up as a photo booth for the guests during canapé hour. This again, like decals, it just creates that finishing touch to any wedding. All right, you gorgeous creatures, that brings us to the end of this first episode of On the Couch with Krazy Chaz. I hope you've liked what we've done. And if you do, please subscribe down below. Give us a like. Any comments, feedback is greatly appreciated. And remember to go to that link in our description for the PDF document on everything we've done. Remember, we're going to be doing episodes in this web series on all the things we've chatted about and so much more. So until we see you again, goodbye, you gorgeous creatures.